The Shepnaz Podcast begins now.
Welcome to the Shepnaz Podcast. I'm Joe, and I'm your host today for
Worship Wednesday.
Yes. All right.
Oh boy.
Well,
My cheeks
we're all like wore out and tired right now.
Yeah. Guess what we got to do?
Well, you know, we have the memorial service coming up, and we thought it would be a nice gesture. Well, actually, Pastor Rob thought it would be a nice gesture if we all went out there and cleaned up the place.
Yeah.
And so
I can still taste the mulch dust in the back of my throat as we speak.
some landscaping, some mulch, some power washing,
Tree trimming.
Yep, a lot of that.
Yeah.
It's a bunch of work. that
Don't
went
laugh
into
at me.
He wasn't even here 5 minutes. He's trying to lay mulch. It gets in his mouth.
So
He goes and throws up.
I have such a weak stomach already. And Steven came over and dumped over that pile, and I reached deep in there to spread it, and it was just that steaming manure-y thing, and it just bloop, right into the back of my throat. Yeah, I had to go.
Oh, that's so funny.
Had to go take care of business.
I'll be back.
Yeah.
He literally said, I'll be back. Just left.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's what we got to do this morning. It was fun.
Noah made fun of me because I was using the push mower.
Why are we making
He was
fun
like,
of-
you know, you could use the zero turn. I'm like, you know what, Noah? When you're my age, you'll figure out that I'm not trying to get done real quick.
Touche.
I'm just sitting here running off the push mower. Yeah,
Take your sweet time. It's fine.
it's all right.
It's fine.
Like, there's other stuff that has to be done.
Yeah.
And I still didn't take long enough because I ended up getting the power washer
You're
anyhow.
still on the power washer.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell them about your pants situation?
Well, I'm wearing new pants.
I felt so bad when I first got there. It was Natalie and Brianna on the power washers.
I know.
And they turned around and it was just mud
Oh,
head
yeah.
to toe, and their legs were just covered in mud.
Yep.
And then when you and Rob got done, you were also covered in mud.
Yeah, I felt bad for Brianna. I went up to her and at some point I said, look, whenever you feel like you have enough mud on you that you need to go start cleaning it
Yeah.
off, let me know and I'll jump in.
Tag out.
Yeah, so
That's fun.
about 5 minutes later, she's like, yeah, about now it'd be a good time. And so I jumped in there and then made a quick visit over to the Goodwill.
Some
Got
damages.
myself a brand new pair of old pants.
Brand new pair of old pants. Your dead man's pants.
Yeah, that's all right.
It's good stuff.
All right, so what are we talking about today?
Landscaping. I'm just kidding. No, today is the continuation of last week because I started out the podcast by saying I wanted to hit two topics.
Okay.
In true Worship Wednesday fashion, we went on many rabbit trails and did not have time to get to point number 2.
Yeah.
And point number 2 is why sounding good matters. Is it important?
Whoa.
I know. What's the reason for quality?
Why?
Why would you even do it?
What?
I don't know. Based off of what I've seen on the internet, that's not necessarily a widespread thought.
That's a fact.
But
It is
but
a fact.
do say,
Yes.
what is this attention to detail and quality?
Yes. So again, let's rephrase that, or not rephrase, but let's remind everyone that, we're not here to put on a show. We are here to worship Jesus, right? And so there is that fine line of, what's the level of professionalism that we need to have on the platform before it starts to get showy, right?
Yeah.
And it goes back to what we've talked about a million times on this podcast is providing a distraction-free worship environment. Because as I'm sure all of us have experienced going to churches where, and how do I want to say this kindly and lovingly, where people are given an opportunity to maybe share what they think is a talent that they might have, and it might not be their thing.
Mm-hmm.
They might be better behind the scenes, not singing solos into microphones.
The Lord gave him a gift because he didn't want it.
That's good.
You can have it.
Yeah, I like that. But the whole reason we want things to sound good and to have a level of professionalism is, one, because we want to provide an opportunity for people to walk into something and not be distracted. You know, I'm sure we've all been to churches or concerts where somebody just biffs it, or you have like a massive equipment malfunction, and it just, for me, and maybe it's just because I'm a musician, like it takes all of my focus off of everything else going on and locks it in with whatever's going wrong.
Well, I think, maybe a good barometer for that is when you walk away from that experience, what are people talking about?
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
And so when they walk away from that experience, are they talking about the fact that we had a great time in worship today? Mm-hmm. Or like, could you believe what I heard?
Right.
Or did you see how that screwed up?
Mm-hmm.
So like, as soon as any of that would become the discussion after the fact, that tells you that that's where the line is.
Yep.
And I guess to the other extreme, when you're saying, you don't want to go too far because you don't want to make it a show.
Yeah.
Then that also works in analyzing it that way too. Like when people go away, like, could you believe that they were doing that? You know, right. And like something that was just so over the top that it didn't fit with the rest of the service.
Yes.
That too may be an indicator of like, how do I keep it between the lines?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And again, like it's a hard thing to balance, right? And again, we're super blessed at this church and both campuses to have the team that we have, because they're all very talented people. So thankfully we don't run into this too much. But there are times where we have to make hard calls sometimes, because we obviously, if people have a heart and want to, be a part of a worship team and have the opportunity to serve in that way, but that's just not their strongest giftings. Having to have those hard conversations of like, hey, I love you. I appreciate you wanting to come and do this. I just don't think this is the area of service for you, because we, again, don't want to, and it's twofold if you think about it. One, we don't want to throw somebody on the platform who's going to be a distraction to the congregation, but also not giving people this false pretense of like, hey, you got it. Good job. And now we're going to throw you out there for everybody. And it's almost like a slap in the face doing that at the end of the day. So it's a hard thing to balance, because you want people up there, but you also want people who know what they're doing up there too. So yeah.
Yeah, that's really hard, because my first worship job, I really messed up. I didn't really want to have that conversation. And so I let somebody get up there that was not, I hate to be mean, but it was just not a good singer.
Yeah.
Like, and it really did. It was more embarrassing for this person to get up and try to do it, and then like talked about it. And it was just like, that is a hard, but it needs to be done. Yeah. Cause it is worse. Cause I have been on the end of like, well, now I have to have a conversation and be like, I know you've already done this, but now we can't have you do it anymore. Yeah. So it is needed. Cause then if you let it happen, then it just creates a whole bigger thing. Yeah. It's crazy.
Well, I think that goes to the kind of the broader topic of leadership in general, is that sometimes, if you're the leader, you're going to say things that people don't like. It doesn't mean that you have to be ungodly about it or unchristian about it. Like, you can do it in a loving way, but just communicate what the truth is. And sometimes when you're in a position of leadership, that's just not the fun thing to do. Yeah. The reality is you're going to eventually have to have that conversation. So do you just do it now and try to prevent as much hurt as possible? Yeah. Or do you just let it fester, and then it becomes a much harder talk and probably more feelings are hurt? Because not only are they dealing with the feelings of kind of rejection because like what they thought they were going to be able to do, they're not going to be able to do, but then they're also feeling a little bit of betrayal because like, well, if you were thinking this, why didn't you say something?
Exactly.
And now I'm dealing with two issues. The fact that I don't feel good about the way you talk to me, and now I don't like the decision you're making. So it becomes harder. So it's not a fun spot to be in. We don't get that as much in tech. We still get it, but we have a lot of different positions where we can shuffle people around to find the right fit for them. Because some of our positions, I definitely think some people would consider them high stress. Like if you hit the wrong button, everybody here is going to know it. So like that can be, or everybody's going to turn around and look at you, or they're going to complain later about how you did your job, even though you're just a volunteer and just trying to help. That doesn't make people stop, being critical when they want to be. And, but with tech, it's a little different in that when you say, for example, probably for you guys, the most vulnerable position for that is vocalist. Because most people, if they don't play a particular instrument, they're not going to like all of a sudden say, I wish I could play this instrument. The worship team. They'll at least recognize I need to learn to play this instrument before they want to try to play it for the worship team. Because we're all born with a voice, no matter how good or bad it might be. Everybody has their own opinion about what they think their voice is and what they think it can do. And so to one extent or other, everybody might think that they're a singer. And so that gets a little bit more difficult when you're like filling vocalist positions.
For sure.
I can say this because I've been a vocalist. I know we all have very fragile egos.
Facts. It is a thing. I wish it was not, but it is definitely a thing.
Yes, I can tell you stories. But anyhow,
that's funny.
So
I would say for how do I want to say this? It does go back to the leadership portion of this and the pastoral aspect of it too. Like one of my favorite things that I've learned over the years, mainly by doing it the wrong ways, is not just shutting people out and saying like, hey, no, you're not it, sorry. But having a conversation where, you explain why, it's not, I just don't want you. It's, hey, we're all on a different part of our journey with singing or playing or whatever. And you're just not quite at that part of the journey where we can throw you into the mix yet. But, if this is really something that you are passionate about doing, what are some next steps that you can take to improve? Is that coming and just hanging out on a Tuesday night during rehearsal and just sitting in on a vocal practice? Or is that getting teamed up with a vocal coach, taking vocal lessons? If it's something you're really passionate about doing, then you're going to want to get better at it. Like for me, I'm still learning guitar stuff every day. I'm trying to improve myself every day. I never want to just say like, oh, I got it figured out. Because it is just a continual journey, and you're just not quite at that place in the journey where we feel like it would be appropriate for you to be on the platform. Doesn't mean you're not important. Doesn't mean we don't love you. And there's a million other places you could serve within the church while you're working towards that goal. And that's been really helpful for me.
And I think that's why it's important to have that conversation, even though it's hard, because I feel like you can learn to sing and you can learn, like there is some bass talent that's there, but I feel like even with vocal coach, you can get better and you can get better at guitar. And that's why if you have that conversation, hey, you're almost there, but let's just fine tune some stuff. Let's get you there. That way they can actually just be like, okay, so I just need to practice. Like not just like, okay, I'm out.
Exactly. But one other big aspect to bringing somebody on a team and having excellence is I always want to hear their hearts before I really hear their voices. Because a lot of people are just like, yes, it's my opportunity to sing or play. It's like, well, no,
Right.
that's actually the secondary. Like what we need to do is come up with pure hearts and worship. And, there was a time that I was doing an audition and this person had a beautiful voice. And I just started asking about, what's your devotional life like? What's your prayer life like? Like, oh yeah, I don't really read the Bible. I don't really pray unless I'm here at church. And it's like, then why would you want to be a part of a team that is strictly just to worship Jesus? Like, well, I just really like being on the stage and, I really would just want to use my voice. And I'm like, yeah, that's not why we're here,
Right.
And so being able to not only bring excellence in quality, but excellence in lifestyle as well. It's not just a Sunday morning thing. So that's something we really encourage. And I think the second most important reason why we care so much about excellence is who we're doing it for.
Mm-hmm.
We're not doing it to entertain people. We're not here to impress whoever's sitting in the front row or, like when I see a new person walk in, I'm not thinking, oh, I better do really good today to make sure that person comes back next week. It's like, that's not the point.
Right.
We're doing it for the creator of the universe who created us to worship him. And so why would I want to bring anything but excellence to the King of Kings?
I have felt that way for a long, long time.
Yep.
So I'm going to tell you a little side story.
Mm-hmm.
I know you love my stories.
I do love your stories, Joe.
But we're not going to change the name. We're going to use the name. He's since been with the Lord, so he's not coming back to this. But
Ain't gonna come swinging.
Wilbur Dale, back when I was probably, I don't know, 13, 14 years old.
Mm-hmm.
My dad was pastor at church, and Wilbur said, yeah, my wife and I just got a brand new sweeper at home, or we got a brand new vacuum cleaner.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to bring our old one here to the church. It'll be good enough to use here at the church to clean up at the church.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, we don't want your old stinking vacuum cleaner.
Right? 100%.
Like if you realized it was so bad and on its last legs that you felt it necessary to buy a new vacuum cleaner for yourself.
Yeah.
But yet you're going to hand this off to the church like, yeah, but it's good enough for them.
Yep.
And that mindset has stuck with me for the years. Now, I know he's a good Christian guy, well-intended. Maybe we disagree on that particular issue.
Right.
But it was like, how can we, and I'm thinking of a story in the Old Testament, and it's like when God was talking about, how is it that you can have all these nice things in your own house and then you leave my house in shambles?
Yep.
And so for me, like, I want the church to be better than my own stuff.
Yeah.
Like if whatever it is, in whatever way that we exercise our talents, our abilities, our gifts, what I want to see happen at the church is something that I would want to be better than anything that I could do for myself.
Absolutely.
And because I do recognize like who we're doing it for, this is for the King of the universe.
Right.
And like, so, I mean, if you could imagine the hoopla, take the politics out of it for a second, but just the position, like if you have a visiting dignitary from another place or a government official, I've seen even around here, like, when we did, Tim Swanson Day.
Yeah.
And we had the mayor from Gahanna come, and because of the position that she holds, you want to make sure like the microphone's going to work for her and the podium is set up the way she would want it to be set up. Not because she's demanding it, but because you're honoring the position that these people hold, and you recognize, hey, I want to make sure that this is right for you and give you our very best.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So why if I felt that way about the governor of or the mayor of Gehenna,
Right.
that I wouldn't feel that way about the King of the universe?
100%.
And even to put some Bible in it, but even in Leviticus, the first chapter, the very first beginning, he says, when you come to bring an offering, don't bring one that's defected. Bring your best, like offering that you like an animal. Bring your best animal, not the one that's smaller or it's defected. You're not going to use it. Like bring the best one you have, and let that be the offering to the Lord.
100%.
Yeah,
that's what he deserves. You know, he deserves that. And so, not what's the word I'm looking for? I'm just going to say it. I don't need to sugarcoat it. It annoys the junk out of me when some church-going people approach you like, why do you have all that crap on the stage? You know, it's like, why do we have all these lights? And why do we need a giant TV on the wall? And why'd you spend so much money on that guitar? And, you know, you could have done so much better stuff with that money and blah, 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 blah. It's like, yeah, but I'm doing it because I want to present something beautiful to the Lord. And if we have this technology that we can use to bring something beautiful to the Lord, why would we not?
Yeah,
why would you not?
I don't want to be in that position where I'm that guy, because I immediately go to the story in the New Testament where there's being perfume put on Jesus' feet. And it is Judas that steps up and says, we could have, look at all the money that's being wasted on putting this perfume on his feet. We could have fed the poor. We could have done, all this stuff. And Jesus looks and says, you know what? You're always going to have the poor with you, but I'm not always. So she's doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And she's honoring me. She's worshiping me. That's what he was saying. She's doing the right thing. And so, yes, I understand that somewhere there is a line.
Yes.
Like, I'm not a fan of around Christmas time when you see some of the mega churches that have zip line pastors coming in on parachutes or drones or I recently saw one with a roller coaster on stage.
Yes, I saw that too.
I was like, really? I mean, okay, I understand a prop, all right, but that might be a little over the top.
A little overkill.
You might be in that board meetings like, this may not be the best optics.
right. Maybe not a good look.
But that aside, those extremes aside, doesn't mean that we shouldn't try to do our very best.
Yeah.
And I don't believe that we should try to emulate the world.
Yep.
But, and I've mentioned this before, and I've heard other people echo this same comment. The church used to lead the arts. And then somewhere like in the past 100 years, we just decided to let the world take the lead on that. And like then the church just kind of follows 20 years behind, kind of doing a Christian version of what the world is doing.
Right.
And I say no to all that. I was like, no, I want to go back to where the church is leading.
Yeah.
Like we're going to take you places. And I think of, I don't know if you guys have ever been out to Sight and Sound, but definitely worth the trip. Musicals may not be your thing, but absolutely amazing. Where they have one in Pennsylvania and they now have one, I think, in Branson, Missouri, but like complete full-on Christian theatrical productions. And I've been there. And I've been to professional shows that have been put on by Broadway crews and so forth, and Sight and Sound outdoes them.
Wow.
Like Sight and Sound does it to the point where now you have people from Broadway coming to look to see how does Sight and Sound do what they do.
That's cool.
And that's where I think we should be. I think we should be leading in that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. I couldn't agree more.
No, what do you think?
It's beautiful.
Have we worn this one out?
I think we're good.
All right. Sounds good. Well, we want to encourage you to, to have excellence in the way that you worship the Lord. That doesn't mean that we're all perfect singers, but you can come to the Lord with a pure heart and give him your very best in worship. We also encourage you to check out everything that's going on in the church by going to shepnaz.org. Also to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Do all those likes, comments, shares. We'd really appreciate it. For Pastor Zack and Noah, I'm Joe. Have a great day. This podcast is a production of the Shepherd Church of the Nazarene, Gahanna, Ohio. Email to podcast@shepnaz.org and let us know what you think.